Then Frisian is the closest living language to Old American. Those are all definitely.
Wait. To all the you guys, we came over to you. We brought the language, we European brought the language over to America. It's not Hello, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Johan, and I'm just a typical Dutchman. And I often wonder, why is there such a big gap in how Europe and the United States understand each other? Why do American customs, culture, and media seem so different and yet familiar? To explore these questions, I react to American videos from US history, travel journals, cultural quirks, and political commentary. And of course, everyday life. If you're curious too, like me, then like and subscribe and help this channel grow to build a better understanding between the US and Europe. And today I'm reacting to the language review Dutch from Language Simp. No idea what it's about, but it's a review of Dutch. So I'm a Dutchman. Let's see what he has to do. Like starting with subscribe and like, and then let's get to it.
Eeuw dreries en welkom op mijn kanaal. Mijn naam is Talbeminar en ik kom uit Amerika.
Oh, en hij spreekt al een aardig woordje Nederlands. He's speaking a nice a couple of sentences in Dutch. I responded in Dutch, so he's good.
Vandaag gaan we over het Nederlands praten, otherwise formerly known as Belgian, Windmillenese, Tall People Canal Language, Drunk English, or Femboy German. This is
Okay.
the 13th episode of Language Review, a series where I go through the languages of the world and review them, sort of like a film critic or a video game reviewer, but for languages, specifically from the perspective of a language learner.
Does he speak all this language? It sounds like.
Discuss who speaks them, their grammar, their difficulty, and tons of other stuff before finally giving them an official Language Simp certified rating on the Simp scale. If you enjoy this video, let me know which language you would like me to review next in the comments, and without further ado, Hatsikide Yalla. Dutch? I love the Netherlands. They have walkable cities with no cars, so many windmills, and bicycles everywhere. Shut up, you're American. Be patriotic. We have walkable cities, clean energy, and bike lanes right here. Okay, you're right, but the Netherlands is gonna be underwater soon, so I don't see why we'd waste our time talking about it. But I guess I have no choice. Dutch is mainly spoken by about 17 million NPCs in a tiny country that people for some reason are dying to move to, known as Holland or the Netherlands. Same thing. The names
No, not the same thing. Holland is not the same thing as the Netherlands.
are 100% interchangeable. Don't look it up. Don't believe them when they correct you. Just call it Holland, or better yet, just call it Amsterdam.
Okay, Amsterdam is part of the province called Holland, North Holland, but it's not the Netherlands. I'm from the south of the Netherlands, and
They'll love you for that. And yes, this country is rapidly sinking into the Atlantic Ocean like the Titanic, and a third of the country is already below sea level, so if you want to go, go soon. I predict they've got like 2 weeks left above water. There they have 2
2 weeks.
lips, canals, extremely questionable traditions, and great coffee, all in one tiny European utopia. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll run into the great Wouter Kortevener on the street and he'll shock you with some flawless Gujarati. But Dutch isn't only spoken in Amsterdam. You see, back in the day when the Dutch were comfortably above sea level, they went out on boats and brutally colonized many different parts of the world, while also generously gifting their language to their victims. So in 2025, Dutch is spoken in the South American country of Suriname, which just feels wrong. When you're in these Mexican countries, you're supposed to speak.
Yeah, but we are in Suriname because we are no longer in New Amsterdam, current New York. So we trade Suriname for New York.
Spanish. And there are also a bunch of Dutch islands in the Caribbean, which feels even wronger. When you think of the Netherlands, you don't think of tropical island vacations. You think of cold European winters, World War II, and Anne Frank, whose diary, originally written in Dutch, really moves me. Next in Southeast Asia, Femboy German is spoken a teeny weeny bit in Indonesia, although these Chads mostly got rid of it. Indonesia actually banned Dutch in 1957.
I didn't know this. In 1942, following the Japanese occupation of the Dutch East Indies, the use of Dutch was banned by the Japanese, with only native Asian language such as Malay and Japanese permitted for official and daily use.
Which is the most based thing I've ever heard in my 26 years of life. You see, we here in America apologize for what happened to the Native Americans, but in the Netherlands, they kind of make fun of their colonization. If you mention the Netherlands online,
We did formally, our king did formally apologize to Indonesia for all the monstrosities that we did there.
you'll be spammed with the word gekoloniseerd, which means colonized. Seriously, every article, post, and video online that even hints at the hypothetical existence of the Netherlands will be littered with gekoloniseerd comments. But thankfully it hasn't happened to me yet, and I hope it never does. And now the best for last. Dutch is, thank God, spoken by about 5.5 million NPCs in the good part of Belgium, known as Flanders, which is basically the entire top half of the country. There they have amazing food like this, which they
What? I don't know if this is Belgian. Oh man. It's called Hagelslag pure. It's sprinkles. I was looking for the word. It's sprinkles. It's chocolate sprinkles, not mouse shit. That's what it's translated down here.
literally call mouse shit. Their chocolate is only slightly worse than Mr. Beast's. They're decent at making American French fries, and unlike the other major European powers, Belgium didn't colonize anyone. So in total, there are about 30 million wait a second. What? They were literally the worst? So in total, there are about 30 million Dutchophones in the world, which means learning Femboy German will unlock you practically zero DLC. But before I continue, I have a very special announcement for those of you who want to learn languages and become a polyglot. For a limited time only, you can now get a discount on my comprehensive language learning ebook guide, the Hyper Polyglot Handbook. Just go to languagesimp.com and use code DUTCH at checkout to get $5 off. Are you tired of being a monolingual soy boy beta? Do you want to become a hyper polyglot giga chad? If so, you need to read the Hyper Polyglot Handbook. This comprehensive ebook will teach you exactly how I learn a language from start to finish in the most fun, effective, yet realistic way imaginable. Learning lingos is simple and fun, and if you feel lost or want a new perspective, this book is perfect for you. Go to languagesimp.com and use code DUTCH at checkout for $5 off. That's languagesimp.com, or click the link in the description and use code DUTCH for $5 off the Hyper Polyglot Handbook, a Giga Chad's guide to language learning today. Now it's
If you want to use this, you have to go to his site, and because I will leave a link to the original video in the description. So you have to go to his because I don't have this link.
time to talk about the dialects of the Dutch language. There are hundreds of them, so I'll only give a broad overview. There's Dutch Dutch, spoken in the Netherlands, and then there's Flemish Dutch, spoken in Flanders, Belgium. Dutch Dutch is kind of
Two different. Yeah, okay.
meh, and it sounds really harsh, like a toad choking on a herring. Dutch people don't really care too much about their language, so they often disregard grammar rules. The youth doesn't even want to speak it, and it has a ton of international loanwords and influence. While Flemish Dutch is awesome, and it sounds very soft and melodic like a beautiful singing bird. And Flemings are proud of their language, so they follow the rules and they allow in less international influence, except from French, because as hard as they've tried, Flanders still is not independent independent from the Belgian baguette people. One day, Flanders, America stands with you. Then if we zoom in, we'll see smaller dialect groups forming that sort of bleed over the border. And some are just completely different languages, which are sadly dying, because the Netherlands is so colonial that they couldn't resist the urge to colonize even themselves. So these minority languages have historically been suppressed. There's Limburgish, which basically has tones like Wu Chinese, and Low Saxon is rough and tough and much more similar to Low German. Then Frisian is the closest living language to Old American. Those are all definitely
Wait. To Old America. You guys, we came over to you. We brought the language, we European brought the language over to America. It's not
not Dutch. But you know what is Dutch? The Hollandic dialect found in North and South Holland, which includes Amsterdam. This dialect is what dominates the media and is the basis for the standard language in the Netherlands, and it's the one that learners most often study, but you shouldn't. Hollandic is what you're thinking of when you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because you remembered that Dutch exists. Then there's Zeelandic, which
Yeah, when you talk to people who are learning the language, the Dutch language, and we know, our own youth know, it's one of the hardest languages to learn. Yeah.
which sort of sounds nasally. It's slower than most varieties of the language, and it reminds me of how people down in Alabama speak. Next there's Street Dutch, which is spoken by the cool kids in the city, and it incorporates some Moroccan Darija, Turkish, Berber, and a ton of American words. I love those 4 languages, so this is what I would learn. Then there's Brabantian, which is so warm and gorgeous. It's softer sounding, and it's the basis for standard Flemish spoken in Belgium. There's also something called Tussentaal, which is the informal language full of slang that Belgians use to communicate with one another on a daily basis. And this is what I recommend you learn if you're a Chad who wants to pull chicks. Then there's West Flemish, which is guttural and real thick. They conjugate yes and no for some reason, and they have the Arabic sound. And finally, East Flemish is similar to West, but a little more neutered. Oh, now please, for the love of God, get me out of Europe and take me to a better, safer continent. Down in the very secure country of South Africa, they speak a language I'm sure y'all have all heard of, Afrikaans. Every single scholar with a brain says that
Yeah, it's again very similar to Dutch, but colonized.
Afrikaans is a separate language from Dutch, but I'm not a scholar with a brain. I think they're too similar, and I believe that Afrikaans is a better, simpler, and more efficient dialect of Dutch. Or maybe Dutch is a dialect of Afrikaans. We'll go with that. And then finally, in the greatest American state, a dialect called Pennsylvania Dutch is spoken by about 300,000 NPCs. But this is actually a dialect of German, they just call it Dutch to troll monolingual betas. Also in Tariff Land,
It's not even a German flag.
one of our presidents spoke Dutch. No, not her. God, she should have had it. No, I mean Martin van Buren, and Dutch was his native language. What a traitor. Now it's time to talk about the writing system. The Dutch language is written in an exact plagiarized copy of the American alphabet, which honestly offends me quite a bit.
Is he doing this on purpose? Because he knows, I hope he knows, that we brought the language along with to the United States.
What are you doing? Just trying to make the C rise faster. They've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, I, J, Y, and Z. Wait a second, what was that one? Yeah, that one. Isn't that 2 letters? Canker. You can't smush them together and act like they're one. I hate this so much. Dutch people will swear that it's not a letter, but they sure act like it's one. It makes a specific sound as a unit, like A, and if they're at the start of a sentence, they'll capitalize both of them. So that reeks of a letter to me, but at least the lore behind why it exists is heartwarming. You see, one day, the I was biking along the canals in Amsterdam when he flipped his black black gazelle omaphetes over a stroopwafel and fell right into Jay, who was also a man. They went to get some friet met mayo under a windmill, split the bill 50-50 Dutch style, fell in love, and sewed themselves together. Then they died. True story, I was the windmill. But apart from that monstrosity, the alphabet has some other quirks. For example, Holland copied a bit of Poland's homework, as the J makes a Y sound like yeah 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 yeah, Polska górum. Then the V makes an F sound and the W makes a V sound, just like they do in German. Plagiarism. And rather embarrassingly, the U makes the same difficult sh sound that the French have. But the R totally redeems the entire alphabet. It's supposed to be a little rolly like r, or guttural like r, but some Dutchies let freedom ring and pronounce it just like an American would. Raise those tariffs. It's interesting. You'll hear the American R a lot from young Dutch people who are slowly drifting away from their language in favor of American, which honestly is kind of tragic, but at the same time,
fuck yeah, America.
However, the most baffling letter I may have ever seen in any language in the Milky Way galaxy is the Dutch G. Is it a G? Is it a J? No, it's a H. It's an extremely harsh noise that reminds me of someone puking or a giant dying hippopotamus taking its last breath.
A hard G. Yeah, okay. But that's in, again, the North Holland, South Holland, around Randstad. We down in the south are known for a soft G.
And it genuinely hurts my throat. And I'm not the only person to report discomfort or even pharyngitis after practicing it. I'm scared to ask this, but you know how American babies say goo goo gaga? Do Dutch babies say goo goo gaga? Or are they too busy colonizing Indonesia to say anything? Thankfully, Belgians do not tend to make this harsh G sound. It's a lot closer to an H in their dialect, so I guess Belgian babies would be like, hoo hoo ha ha ha. Dutch also has some accent markers, but they're not really important. My favorite though is the diaresis that looks like two balls floating on top of a letter. Basically, you put the diarrhea there and it separates the vowels into two syllables. Vowels are kinda jarring in Dutch. Like, just look at this goofy looking word with a ton of
Ze ain't. Oh, wait a minute. Ze ain't. Oh, je ogen. Zeeën door je ogen. Nah, that's not a real word as far as I can remember. Ze ain't. Oh, je ogen, door je ogen. Zeeën door je. No, it's not a real word.
Double vowels. When they're doubled, they make a long vowel sound, and it's actually satisfying to look at. But what isn't satisfying are the many diphthongies found in this language. If you're American or uneducated, what's the difference? A diphthong is basically when you make a vowel sound and midway through it you transition your gender and switch to another vowel sound, like in the word moist. Moist. Oi. There are a lot of these in Dutch, and there are even triphthongs, but most are unremarkable. However, this diphthong is 99% responsible for the stereotypical, iconic hargelbargel met ei gorkenscheigel sound that the Dutch language has. It makes the oh sound, which I can kinda do, but I sound like I'm whining like a loser, and I think I make it too nasally. Oh. But how does
And oh, oh.
Dutch sound in general? What's the vibe like, Mocker? Well, a lot of people online claim that it's one of the ugliest languages in the observable universe, and it'll put you in the hospital and require you to get multiple throat replacements, but it's not ugly. It's goofy but melodic at the same time, and I enjoy listening to people speak it, especially this little guy. He's like the Naruto of the Netherlands. Also, Dutch music is surprisingly really fire. My favorite artist to listen to is Snowlebollicus, who is basically the Tupac of the Netherlands. Then I also like the Europapa guy, who is basically just an Eminem tribute act. But unfortunately, mainstream Dutch culture is just a bunch of gabbers listening to boom 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 for 4 days straight without sleeping. But in stark contrast to everything we've witnessed thus far, Dutch vocab is extremely normal. Just kidding, it's like the most goofiest thing you'll ever see in your life. Many people online claim that Dutch is not a serious language, but I'd go further and argue that it's not a real language. Just look at this tweet or excretion
Van Geert Wilders. We hebben een serieus probleem.
or whatever you call it these days. I don't even know what to say. The chest speaks for itself. I promise, this screenshot is real. And let's take a look at who wrote this tweet. Geert Wilders. At a certain point in history, Geert was expected to become Prime Minister of the Netherlands, but instead my dude Dick Schoof stepped up to the plate. What are these names? I think Geert and Dick should kiss. But I don't know how you do it, Dick. I personally would never want to be Prime Minister of the Netherlands, since the Dutch people once killed and ate their own Prime Minister back in the day. There are so many other examples of this language trolling Americans, like Die man is dude, or my personal favorite,
Mijn vader is dokter.
oh, I guess they're allowed to plagiarize our language since New York originally was Neo Amsterdam after all. The Dutchies love silly maxing. Want to know how to say baseball in Dutch? I know you don't, but I'm gonna tell you, it's honkball. Who wants to play a game of honkball? Are any
Honkball.
geese watching this video? Let's pick teams in the comments. Also, the word for dog breeder really grosses me out, like to the point where I won't even say it on camera, so just check the comments, I'm sure someone said it by now. Even trying to be polite in Dutch sounds goofy. To formally ask someone to do something, you say,
He should not say it on cam because it's not a good word to say to say it because the sound is not good, especially when you're connected to the English. Yeah, but for Dutch it's not a problem, but for English it is a problem.
Kunt u dat doen? However, just because things are silly doesn't mean that they're hard. Dutch is one of the easiest languages to learn on the planet. And if you start Dutch today, you'll want to first learn a greeting. One of
No, I'm not a... Most other people around will say that Dutch is, even the students say, it's a hard language to learn.
the most common ones is
Kindercarnavalsoptochtvoorbereidingswerkzaamheden.
oh no, that's wrong. That is a real compound word, but I actually meant goedemorgen. Then how are you is hoe gaat het? And if you speak German, boy will this be even easier for you. Almost 70% of femboy German words have a very similar equivalent in real German. And if you look at the same word in both languages, 11 times out of 10, the word is much easier in Dutch. And pure native Dutch words aren't complicated either. Dutch people love feet. Which is the native word for bicycle. If they could marry their feets, they would. Although one thing that is very confusing are these words, which you'll hear all the time. Nederland is the name of the country.
Nederland. Yes, the name of the country.
Nederlands is the name of the language
Nederlands is the language name, yeah.
found in Nederland. Nederlandse is a woman from Nederland who probably
Nederlandse, yeah.
speaks Nederlands. And Nederlander is a man from Nederland who probably speaks Nederlands and could perhaps be married to a Nederlandse or another Nederlander or multiple Nederlanders. Polygamy is illegal in the Netherlands, but I deadass think I found a loophole, so if you're interested, email me. It's on my channel somewhere, the email if you want to email me about polygamy. Another interesting thing about Dutch is their very bizarre roster of curse words. You can call someone an a
Ooh, yeah, ooh, curse words. Ooh, be careful. We throw a lot of yeah, things around that you should not say on YouTube.
acorn, akel, or an idiot, idiot. But those aren't too offensive. The real powerful swear words in Dutch are about diseases. Typhus is a disease that killed millions of people. No laughing matter, but the Dutch use it as a curse word, like in the phrase, krijg de tyfus. They use a lot of different diseases for this exact purpose, but if you want to be a wanker, you'll use the word kanker. Kanker means cancer, and it's the most offensive word in the Dutch language. Now, don't be a twerp and go to Antwerp and start calling people kankers. That would be extremely rude. Instead, say,
Yeah, somehow, because I know that it's been said that we use cancer as a swear word, but I don't know where this came from, because it's not... Most people do know that you can't call cancer as a swear word to someone else. It's mostly terms like, yeah.
kankerlier, which means cancer sufferer.
It's something from, I guess, from Amsterdam and around, because I don't hear it that much.
and is much more of a pointed insult. Don't get mad at me for saying it, that's what they say. You act like I invented it. I didn't want to say it, I don't like it, I'm just an educator. But Dutch grammar isn't too offensive. It's literally just German grammar minus all the overcomplicated hocus pocus dog water. According to Dutch people, there are only two genders, and they're not what you think they are. They're neuter and man-woman. Yes, Dutch progressivism is not only found in coffee shops. So masculine and feminine nouns both take the definite article, de, while neuter nouns like book, work, and girl take the neuter article het. And I'm so happy to report that the Dutch language does not have a cringe and unnecessary case system like German. Wow, that must be nice. So the pronouns are pretty easy. There's ich, which mogs the heck out of the German ich. Then there's Julie, which is literally just a girl's name. And I love the reflexive pronouns. Myself is mezelf, yourself is jezelf, and you plural self is juliezelf. Men, don't forget to check juliezelf for canker. Wait, don't do it now, wait till after the video. And verbs in Windmillenese aren't too bad either. There are a decent amount of conjugations, but none of them really stick out to me as anything crazy. There are two major types.
Yeah, these are the simple words. Yeah, there are much complicated words.
Of verbs: beta soy boy kissless weak verbs and Chad alpha male stud strong verbs. My favorite soy boy verb is wachelen, which means to waddle. When we conjugate wachelen in the present tense, we've only got these three forms. That's pretty easy. For weak verbs, the stem does not change in the past tense. And for strong verbs, it does change. In the present tense, you'd say ick stink, but the past tense would be ick stonk. Wow, so hard. There are other types of verbs, but one thing is common among all of them. They're just not that hard. This is an easy language. The only thing that can be a little hard are the separable verbs. Like if you want to say, I am not touching the raccoon, you'd say, ik raak die wasbar niet aan, even though the infinitive of the verb is aanraken, one word. But please don't act like that's hard. We have that in American. I pick the raccoon shit up, I put it down. It's common sense. They also have irregulars, but like which language doesn't have irregulars? Is there even one? And don't say Esperanto. Please don't say Esperanto. I'll delete my channel. The most common is sein, meaning to be. And as you can see, it doesn't really make any sense, like ben.
Ik ben. Ja, u bent, hij, zij is, wij zijn, jullie zijn, zij zijn. Ja.
And is and sein itself? But the past tense is dope because it's basically just was, which seems familiar. Oh yeah, and the language is technically subject, verb, object, so a lot of the time you have to put the verb at the end of the sentence like German, but that genuinely takes like 5.
Ik zou dat uranium willen eten. I should not. You should not eat uranium.
Business days to figure out max. So in general, Dutch grammar has its quirks, but it's nothing to get verked up about. Now it's time to talk about shock factor. How will native Dutch speakers react to you speaking their language as a foreigner? Well, if you walk up to a Dutch person in the Netherlands, first of all, you're going to get absolutely hype mobbed. Even
Yeah, okay. I'm reacting to the video, so you already hear how I react.
though their country is low, these people are very high. But yeah, if you somehow manage to get eye level with them and you speak Dutch to a Dutch person, they're going to immediately switch to American and embarrass you.
Switch to English, not to American. We switch to English.
It will feel like you're about to make the easiest open layup of your life, but LeBron James, or let's call him Leon Brown Jansen, comes out of nowhere and blocks your shot back into your face at the last second. Dutchies will not, under any circumstances, speak Dutch with you. They speak American better than Americans, either with a terrible accent or with one that is indistinguishable from that of a native.
We speak English. Please, let's talk about English. I try as good as I can. But it's not American. It's English, yeah?
There's no in between. In fact, I've met Dutch people who speak American better than they speak their own lingo. It feels like Dutch people aren't really proud of their language like a lot of other people groups, and a good number of them just prefer American. Belgians, however, will sue your ass if you don't speak Dutch. They're hardcore since they were linguistically oppressed, and they still have to tolerate the French language today. Maybe they'd enjoy it if you spoke Dutch in Suriname, but let's be honest, if you're going to South America, you're going to Venezuela, not Suriname. And keep in mind that learning Dutch to a good level just isn't as impressive as learning a lot of other languages to a good level. It's an easy language. What did you expect? You will never be able to shock a Dutch person, and you will never make them backflip with excitement. This is the worst language for shock factor in the universe. There's so much more I could say about this language, but frankly, I don't want to talk about it anymore, so it's time I give Dutch an official language sim certified
Yeah, I'm curious. What's it gonna be? Dark water, beta, mid, alpha, or gigantic?
rating on the simp scale. On a scale of dog water to Giga Chad, I place Dutch solidly in. Don't forget to use code Dutch at checkout to get $5 off the Hyperpolyglot Handbook link in description. The beta tier. The Dutch language just honestly isn't that exciting to me. Learning it unlocks barely any DLC, and it kind of feels like it's dying even in the country where it comes from. The Netherlands is either going to be completely underwater like Atlantis in 3 weeks, or it's going to be an Americaphone country. And German is right there next door just begging to be learned. Plus, learning German won't physically injure you, but if you learn Dutch, you'll need throat replacements and probably therapy. As a Native American speaker, it's a little hard to take serious sometimes, but I guess someone from China who doesn't speak English wouldn't think this is funny, so I acknowledge that I'm biased. I will admit that Dutch sounds very cute and endearing, and most women in the universe think it's a sexy language. But it's also one of the easiest in the galaxy for Native Americans, so I guess if you want to dabble, I'm not gonna judge you. But with all that being said, I will learn Dutch one day. Just kidding. I would rather someone give me a Dutch oven. If you know what that is, you might have laughed. If you don't, look up Dutch oven slang. And that's the video. Don't forget to go to languagesimp.com and enter code Dutch at checkout to get $5 off of the Hyperpolyglot Handbook for a limited time only.
Yeah, okay. A lot of laughter. Now he's talking about our language, my language. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, but here and there it's American. I hear it is American. But yeah, good. Yeah, I hope you enjoy your video. Maybe you had some laughter like I do. How is your language? What language do you speak? Let me know in the comments. I will react to all the comments. And then I will see you in the next video.